Every photo you just saw was taken straight out of my camera. No color grading, no LUTs, no editing at all. I recently took my Ricoh GR IV HDF camera with me on a solo birthday trip to Sedona, Arizona. And after a little bit of trial and error, I was able to create one specific recipe that made the red rocks pop, made the sky stay blue, and kept that soft glow and cinematic feel to all the photos. In this video, I'm gonna share with you my exact settings recipe, plus when it worked perfectly and when it failed miserably. Before I get to my settings, I want to make it really clear, this is not an everyday recipe. This is a bright sunlight travel recipe. It works best for environments that are similar to Sedona, that is environments with harsh sun, beaches, deserts, anywhere where the natural sunlight is beaming. So now let's get into my exact settings, and none of these settings are random. So I started this with a positive film as the base because it already gives you that warm film look. Then I put hue at -4, which is the lowest that it'll go. And that was to accentuate the red and the oranges in a lot of the landscape of Sedona. So you can see that the rocks look very rich and not dusty. Saturation, I took all the way up to +4. That's the maximum because that's really what gives the colors life and really make them pop. So you can see the sky is extra blue, the greens, the oranges, all very prominent, which I really loved in a lot of these photos. Highlight I took down to -1, which is really important because that Sedona sun will literally blow out the sky and make the sky look white instead of the rich blue that it really is. Kept the shadow at -2 just so that the rocks had texture to them and depth. And of course I had to keep the HDF filter on this entire trip because it all around softens that harsh sunlight, which gives that nice cinematic glowy effect that I'm obsessed with. So it feels less like a digital phone photo, you know, more like capturing a memory or like a dream. Very, very aesthetic. And this is the point in the trip where you start to realize, okay, we're not just documenting this trip, we are capturing how things are feeling, which I did say in my previous video that is really important to me. I don't want to just point and shoot. I want to capture that warmth, that life in the photograph so that when I go back to it, I don't have to guess or remember or add it back in post. I want it to exist in the capture, you know? Okay, so now here's where things get a little bit interesting. Some of my self-portraits came out pretty warm. Warm like a tomato. Yeah, but I can't blame it entirely on the camera or the recipes. It's just the environment that I was in. The Sedona red rocks reflect red onto my skin, and I'm melanated, so I do already have a lot of warm tones in me. Coupled with the extra warm recipe, created a recipe for tomato soup. Yeah, and honestly, I wasn't mad at a lot of these photos. I love looking warmer than I am. I like being tan. I think it was flattering. But if that is an issue for you, here's how you can quickly fix that. You can lower your exposure composition to like -0.3 or -0.7, or you can reduce that red hue. So instead of -4, just bring it up to like -2. One of those two options would help balance out the skin tones a little bit. Now let's talk about these photos that I took in action and this blurring issue. I'm a solo traveler, so a lot of the times I'm taking photos myself, and every corner of Arizona is very scenic and beautiful, so I ended up taking a good amount of photos out the window of a moving vehicle, whether that was an open Jeep or a van. This is where I started to get a little bit confused because in a fast moving vehicle, somehow my images were coming out pretty sharp, but then when I turned the camera on to me, now all of a sudden they're blurry. But I quickly realized it was not an autofocus problem, it was really that snap focus. Yeah. The Ricoh GR cameras are actually specifically designed to instantly focus at a set distance, and that was the part that I didn't do real research on and had to learn on the fly, which is how I do a lot of things when it comes to cameras, not gonna lie. In the camera settings, you can change the distance for the snap focus. So I initially had it at 2.5 meters, which is why when I'm pointing the camera outward, it's focusing and getting sharp images instantly. But when I turn the camera on myself, it's focusing on the background behind me. So when you lower the distance to 1.5 meters, when you're taking a photo at arm's length, it will focus on your face a lot easier and a lot faster. Now, like I said in the beginning, this recipe doesn't work everywhere. It is a tailored recipe for this specific environment. In my opinion, this recipe pretty much failed when it was cloudy, shady, indoor, just darker environments. So some of these photos that I took outside, they just look pretty flat. There's almost too much contrast and too little contrast. So like everything just looks like a wash of red essentially. I mean, you can't really tell the depth even though I'm standing right in the middle. That could also be an issue with the composition in general. But so basically this is a sunlight recipe. Once that sun is gone, this recipe is pretty much going to struggle a lot, which I did create some other recipes, and that's why I like the Ricoh GR4, because you can save recipes. This camera right here changed everything about how I capture my memories on this trip specifically. I did talk about some of this in my previous video, but this camera and the customization really allows me to just be in the moment without me having to worry about later on that night having to go through all my photos and put back that warmth and that feeling that I had as I captured it so that it could still be present there. You know what I mean? So if you have been struggling or experimenting with how to get cinematic photos straight out of your Ricoh, I hope that this video helped. Anyway, as always, shout out to everybody. I had fun.